Okay, we're going to get started because we have a lot to talk about. First, we're going to talk about the national picture. I am going to talk about the budget. I'm going to talk about the tax cuts. I'm going to talk about what they've done in Washington and what they're not doing. We will get down to Silicon Valley, which of course is magical, and the economy here is unbeknownst to everybody else in the world and the envy of everybody. And then I will talk about the real estate market, what I think has changed over the last few years, where I think it's going, how long I think this glorious economy is going to last. So, you know, if you go back over the last 9 years, we had an economy that was growing at about 1.9% GDP, and our country is way too big to grow at 1.9%. So the mandate came down, we have to be at 3%. And of course, that caused a change of administration. And did we make 3%? Yes, we did. First quarter was 2.6, second quarter GDP was 3%. Third quarter was 3.4, and they just revised the fourth quarter today to 2.6%, which means we got to 3%. Now, why did all that happen? Because I think it's important that we know why the economy went from 1.9 and all of a sudden it's jumping on cylinders and starting to move again. Well, I think the first thing is we have to thank the Federal Reserve basically for that, because they only raised interest rates twice last year, and each time it was 0.25%, and they kept the 10 years very mellow. We started at 1.6, it ended the year about 2.4, 2.5, and it stayed there for a while, but we know now that it's going up, so we'll talk about that when we get to 2018. The second thing is if you look at employment, we're down at 4%. They created about 1 million new jobs last year. And then we have to look at global, because we're a global economy, and we have to look at Europe and Russia and Japan and China. And they came into the recession later than we did, so they've just come out of it. And they are going to be positive this year to the tune of about 2% GDP, and that helps us because they're our trading partners. I think you also have to look at the dollar. Now, the dollar was very strong at the beginning of the year. It's gone down about 10% by the end of the year, and we don't like that, but all the people that do business internationally like a weaker dollar because they have to compete against all the currencies of the world. And I guess the last thing I would say is let's look at the stock market. It started at 18,000 and it went up to 25,000 by the end of the year, which meant that if you had a 401k or a pension plan, you were 25% richer by the end of the year than you were at the beginning of the year. Absolutely phenomenal. So now we move into 2018, and here's what I can say. I'm going to make some predictions, all right? And I always say when I make predictions, if I'm right, I'm a genius, and if I'm wrong, I was on a hell of a lot of medication when I came here today, and you'll forgive me for that, okay? So, you know, economists are great because they talk in languages nobody understands. I always hate them. They're boring people, so I'm going to try to make it simple. I think we're going to be at least 4% by the end of the year. I think the mandate has come down to open the world up to businesses and corporations. They like it. They're doing a lot of business. Their earnings are off the charts. You have technology being driven in Silicon Valley. We're going to talk about the economic revolution going on there. I don't see how we can't be at 4%. That's number one. Let me talk a little bit about the stock market and what happened, because you know, by January, February, we were up not 25%, but 31%, and then people started to get spooked. So what happened? Well, everybody started to talk about the I word, which is inflation. And we were going to have some inflation this year, but it's going to be in wages, because the mandate came down to these companies. If we open up the business world for you and cut taxes, you're going to give some of your employees part of this money, and they're going to get wage increases because they haven't had them over the last 9 years. So that's where it's going to be. It's not going to be in products and services, because look at just what happened. Amazon.com just started a new line of products called Basic Care. Now, what is Basic Care? Well, you know they want to get into the healthcare business. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they said they were going to merge with Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan Chase, and Amazon.com to get into the healthcare business, right? And they were going to do this nonprofit. I'm running around my house about 4 o'clock in the morning going crazy, thinking, what do you mean nonprofit? These companies are not nonprofit, but they have 1 million workers. So they're going to the drug companies and saying to them, stop with the big prices you're charging everybody. We have 1 million workers. It's going to be nonprofit, which means you're going to give it to us basically at cost plus a little bit of profit. And then I think they're going to charge all their people a membership fee to get these drugs during the year. So Amazon.com 2 weeks later comes out with Basic Care, which is 60 drugs now that they're going to put on shelves or you can order. Here's the difference. If you went into a Rite Aid or a CVS or a Walgreens and you bought Tylenol, it would cost you $13 or $14. Today you go on Amazon Basic Care, $6.98. So there isn't going to be a lot of inflation. I think we're going to be at 2.5%. They say 2% is the right target, 2.5%, a little bit above. It's not a big thing, but everybody's spooked. Then you had Mrs. Yellen, who when she left, the day she left, said the stock market was overvalued. Thank you, Mrs. Yellen. Then we had the Atlanta Federal Reserve chief who said, oh my God, we're going to be at 5.6% growth in the first quarter. Oh my God, let's go crazy. And then you know in the stock market you have the VIX and these ETF funds, which basically roll the market and make them go crazy. And it's all automated now. So when you start to go up, the machines go crazy and it starts to go up higher. Same thing happens when you go down. So we had a stock market that went down 2,500 points in about a week and a half. Everybody freaked. Why did you freak? It was against 26,000. It was only an 8% adjustment. That's like appetizers before the main course. You have to get to 20% before you have a correction. We didn't even get there. And 9 days later, we've gotten half of it back. We're only down 4%. So everybody keep calm because the stock market, I think, is going to do this. It went up. It's going to go up and down till it gets its legs, probably in the summer, and then I think it'll be probably at 27, 28,000 by the end of the year. You're not going to get another 25%, but I think you're going to get at least 8 or 10%. Now, at the same time, let me talk for a minute about Bitcoin, because we need to talk about what happened to Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin started 10 years ago, all right, by the Japanese mafia. They keep saying some Japanese man did it, but nobody can find him. It was the mafia because they wanted to do drugs and armaments and money across currencies and not basically have any government regulation. So we started at the same time a company here in San Francisco that lost $1 billion of people's money. So now I'm going to define for you how the federal government defines Bitcoin, because it is not a currency, okay? Let's get that in our mind. Can you do things digitally? Can you buy and sell things? Of course you can. You can get on PayPal, you can get on Square. A lot of places will take it. But Bitcoin is not a currency. It's an asset, and that means it's like a stock. You can buy it, you can sell it, as long as you both agree you want to do it in Bitcoins, and you can put almost any value you want on it, but it is not backed by the United States government. That's why it's not a currency. It does not have the backing of the United States government. So now there's 1,000 Bitcoin companies, you know that. So there's Ripple, there's Bitcoin, there's Ether, Ethereum, IOL, CIO, and they're all at different valuations. If you own Ripple, it's about $147. If you own the big mom and pop of Bitcoin, it's about $8,000 now. Now, they used to keep the amount of actual coins, because they do mint Bitcoins, limited, and there were about 20 million of them. That's how come it shot up so high. And then they opened a futures market on the stock exchange, which means up and down, up and down, up and down. And then all of a sudden in Japan and South Korea, they started to mine them for a while. And so the 20 million went to 120 million, and you saw a dive. And it amazed me that people were all spooked that the stock market went down 8%. Bitcoin went down 75% in the same amount of time, and nobody's complaining. Now, the other thing is, I would say to you, when you buy these Bitcoins, are you getting coins? Or are you just getting a ledger account that says you have Bitcoins? Because it makes a difference. There was a one last week that just went under here for $400 million. And when people went down to say, well, I'd like my coins, they said, you don't have a coin. You got a ledger. It says, Carole Rodoni, you have 100 Bitcoins. Well, give them to me. No, we don't have them to give them to you. We just gave you a ledger account. So at the end of the day right now, you can day trade it if you like. You can do that if you want. I wish you luck. I think it's a scam. I think it'll probably be okay over time. The people that basically got to 20,000 and got out are very lucky and very rich. The people that are holding it at $100 or 5,000 are in trouble. So that's Bitcoin. Now, are we going to have a digital currency? Of course we are. You know these millennials. Some of you are sitting in this room. You hate cash. You don't even carry cash. You don't even know what cash looks like. If I showed you a $100 bill, you wouldn't even know what it was. Basically, you don't like credit cards. You know that. You know we're going to have a digital currency, but it has to be regulated, blockchain, which means that they can trace it, and the government's working on it, but it's going to be a few years out. So that's what I can say. Now, everybody wants to know what stocks we like. Okay, so I'm going to tell you I own all these stocks. I'm not responsible if you buy them and you go down, okay? Don't even talk to me about that. So I'm going to go around that by saying, let's talk about the budget that the president put out. It's a $4 trillion budget, and we only collect about $2.5 trillion in taxes. So we're a bit short in the budget. So you know the $24 trillion that we have is going to 27, and we pay about $500 billion a year just interest on the budget. Now, everybody says to me, what happens to the debt, Carole? Look, guys, the whole world is leveraged. Everybody everybody's in debt, every country's in debt. What they do is they just extend the terms. So you buy a bond, right? It funds us. There's a 3-year bond, there's a 10-year, you can have a 50-year bond. That'll basically take the terms and expend them out. And by the time we hit the wall, we'll all be dead, so it won't matter, believe me, at the end of the day. So they're going to keep on spending because nobody in Washington wants to look at the budget, stop spending, that's the way it is. Now they have till March 26th to get a 2-year budget. Now, here's what they did. The president wants basically to juice up defense. You know that because our defense has been raked. We are 1,000 planes short, and we are 280 warships instead of 500. So he wants to build that back up. Not for war, but he wants the big carrot. Okay, fine. So in order to get that, he wanted $80 billion more this year for defense and $83 billion more next year. And in order to get that, he had to give basically welfare and the recipients of welfare $60 billion more this year and $68 billion more next year. The only other thing that they have decided is infrastructure, $1.7 trillion over the next 10 years because they've looked at America, at the roads and the bridges and the electrical grid. And I used to say she needed Botox, but I think she needs a complete laser peel now. We're in a lot of trouble. Okay, fine. So that's going to be coming. All the other things they haven't decided. Now, let me talk a little bit, and then I'll get to the stocks, about the tax cuts that they've done. I actually read the tax bill. That's going to be how I'm going to get into heaven, because I know I was going to hell, but I'm going to have a coin to get in. Okay, fine. So at the end of the day, it was boring. It's impossible. I don't think the media has explained it correctly. $1.4 trillion in tax cuts, with 60% went to corporations, 40% went to the consumer. So let's talk about corporations first because they love what they got. From 35, they went to 21% taxes. Big corporations don't pay that anyway. Did you know that Amazon.com, that made $176 billion in revenue last year, did not pay any taxes because of carry forward? So a lot of big corporations don't pay it, but small businesses do, so they really like that. The second thing was capital expenditures. When Reside came in here, they had to basically do some things in maneuvering and desks and computers, et cetera, and they had to expend that. And the old rule was you couldn't basically take it off the books. You had to do it over a period of time. So now you expend it, you can take it off in the same period of time. The best one was we're a double taxation nation. You know what that means. So if you're Apple or Boeing and you do business abroad, you make money there, you get taxed. If you brought it back here, you'd get taxed again. So now they have 6 to 10 years where they can bring money back and only get taxed at 10%. So the first company that announced they're going to bring money back was Apple. Apple's bringing $360 billion back. They're going to pay the tax. They're going to build a third Apple Town. So you know they have one in Cupertino, one they're building in East San Jose. They will in the East Bay over the next 5 years, and it will employ 20,000 people. So we want them to bring their money back because $1 trillion of the $3 trillion belongs in this valley, and we would love to get it back. So you're going to see probably $750 billion come back because Hewlett Packard announced they're bringing it back. All of them have announced they're bringing some portion of that money back. Now, what does that mean for what they're doing? Well, let's talk about what happened. They had a mandate that they had to do something with wages or pension plans or 401ks. They could do some basically acquisitions, buyback of stocks. They could do some mergers and acquisitions and dividends. So now we know AT&T was the first one out of the hoop. They gave to 100,000 employees a $1,000 bonus in their January checks. Walmart raised their minimum wage from $10 to $11 and gave 1.5 million workers in the United States of America bonuses of about $2,500 down to $250. We followed suit. There's now like 300 or 400 companies that have either done something with wages or bonuses, which is good. Yes, they're giving dividends, and dividends are not just for the rich. A lot of little old people live on dividends. Yes, they're buying back stocks, which you should all be grateful for, because when they buy back stocks, there's less shares out there, so the price of the stock goes up in value. That's going to help your 401ks. And yes, they're going to do mergers and acquisitions. And yes, they're going to have companies that are going to go public, and they have the funds to do that now. So that's the corporation side. I guess when we look at the consumer now, I'm going to divide them into two. If you have business clients who buy a house and want to rent it, or they're going to buy an apartment house, etc., under the new tax laws, you definitely want to make sure that they are a corporation, a sub-S, or a C Corp. There are really good reasons for that. One is when you put something in those entities, they're very protected and they can't get to your other assets. The second is they can expense more. And the third is the tax structure this coming year is better. It's 21% plus 3.6% for Medicare versus 28% last year if you kept it at least a year. Now let's talk about the consumer because that's what you're really interested in. There's basically 7 tax ranges, 0, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 37%. Now it was 39.6%, so on average, take what you paid in income taxes last year, and you're probably going to pay 2 to 3% less. So somebody makes $300,000 a year, they're going to pay 3% less, that's $9,000. Also now, there's a standard deduction that they've doubled, so nobody has to pay any taxes on the first $12,000 if you're single, $24,000 if you're married. If you have children living at home, then basically it's $2,000 per child. That's the credit that you get. Okay, now let's just kind of look at something else called the alternative minimum tax. Now, why is that important? Because it's been in existence for about 10 years, but people don't know what it is. But it's very simple. If you're a high-wage earner and they consider anybody at $250,000 or up a high-wage earner, then you qualify under the federal government for something called the alternative minimum tax. It's not something you like, so don't get excited. What it is it says, okay, fine, now what we're going to do is we're going to take all your state deductions, state income tax, DMV, and sales taxes, and we're not going to allow you to deduct them on your federal income tax return. Now, why is that important? Because you deal with a lot of people in San Francisco that meet that criteria of income level, and they're all going to freak out because they're going to say, oh my God, under this new tax plan, I'm not going to be able to deduct my state income taxes. Look, you stupid person, you haven't been able to deduct your state income taxes. You should have known that if you read your income tax return. You should have known that. So they're not going to get hit by that because they don't qualify anyway, okay? So now, let's just say, here you are, and let's say now, where is the cream of the tax cut? $80,000 to $150,000. Those are the people that really benefit. So let's take someone who basically makes $100,000 a year. They go out, they buy $1 million house, right? And basically they put 20% down. They're going to be carrying an $800,000 mortgage, right? Under the old rule, yesterday, you could deduct up to $1.1 million of mortgage interest deduction, right? You could basically do primary residence, vacation home, 2 out of 5 years, $250,000, $500,000, and you could deduct anything you paid on interest on a line of equity. Now we go to today. It's capped at $750,000. That's the most you can deduct. Only primary residences, no vacation homes. You still get the $250,000, $500,000. You cannot deduct any interest on a line of equity. So now, here we go, and here's this person thinking, oh my God, I can't deduct $50,000. Wait a minute, let's go back over here. You had a gross income. You took deductions. Those are all numbers. They're not percentages. You come up with a net income, right? Those are all numerical things. The government takes that and goes back to the 7 tax ranges, which are percentages, and puts you in a percentage range. So let's say this person is in the 20% range. Okay, now we go back over here. $50,000 is the amount of the loan. It's not the interest. So we have to say to them, what interest are you paying on this loan? I'm paying 4%. So 4%, okay, of $50,000 is $2,000 a year. But it's not that, because the government does not ever give you dollar for dollar. They go back to your income tax rate, and they give you 20% of $2,000, which is $400. Now, let's talk about the state taxes, because this person will get hit with not being able to do that, because they're not at $250,000. They're going to get to deduct up to $10,000 in property taxes. Okay. At 1.1%, they're paying $13,000, so they're going to lose $3,000 there. But remember, they saved $3,000 in federal income tax returns, so right now they're pretty equal and balanced. Where they're going to get hit is in the 13% that they pay to the state that they can't deduct now. So let's just assume that with state taxes, sale taxes, DMVs, et cetera, it all amounts up to $20,000. But it's not $20,000. It's $20,000 against their income tax rate, which is 20%. So all told, this whole person, it's costing them $4,000. That's not a good reason to move to Texas, to live there with all those nuts down there, to basically move your children. Your wife will divorce you. You'll have a house only worth $600,000. You've lost your income. Then you want to come back because, oh, by the way, they didn't tell you this, but these tax cuts for the consumer are only good for 6 years. So what are we all getting upset for? In 6 years, there'll be new people there, and you know what they're going to do. They're going to change everything again, so we'll all be confused. Now, who does it matter to? Well, it shouldn't matter to somebody that's making $700,000 a year. First of all, if you are concerned between the difference of $1.1 million and $750,000 and the interest you can deduct, get out of your $4 million house. You can't afford to. That's like asking what the PG&E bill is in a $4 million house. If you have to ask that, get the hell out. You can't afford to live here. Okay. The second thing is they're paying about $80,000 to the state. Well, they couldn't deduct it anyway. Where they're going to get hit is on property taxes, okay, because they can only deduct $10,000, and they're probably going to pay $50,000. But remember, the $40,000 that they can't deduct, it's against their income tax range, which is going to be 37%. It's about $20,000. If you're telling me somebody that makes $700,000 a year is going to leave the state of California and a job where they're making $700,000 a year to go someplace else for $20,000, I'm telling you, you're nuts. Okay, that's it. So for us, this tax cut, and you cannot give tax advice unless you're an accountant. No, please don't say I told you that. But you can basically use the example I used and tell them, calm down, it's not that terrible. Okay, now back to the stock market and what do I like based on what we've talked about. Well, in defense stocks, I like Boeing. Boeing was up 363% last year. It's one of the best stocks on the stock market. Don't buy General Electric. They're in big, big trouble. Number one, they have raked that company. It's down to about $12 a share. They're in trouble with the SEC and their insurance division. I think they're going to have to divide that company up, which is very sad because it was a Class A company for many years. If you're looking basically at construction, I like Deere and Caterpillar. Besides Boeing, I like Raytheon and Northrop Grumman. If you're looking at consumer services, I'll give you the ones I like. I love Target because I think Amazon.com is going to buy Target. They need retail if they're going into the health business. They bought Whole Foods, but there's not enough stores. They need more. Target has 1,000 stores. They will buy Target. That's my prediction by the end of the year. I love Walmart because I think with Jet.com, they're coming along. They're beginning to get it right, thank God. I love Costco. I love basically McDonald's. I also like a company that when I say it, everyone goes, oh my God, Taco Bell. And I'll tell you why I like Taco Bell. It was the dregs of the fast food business. They're redoing all their stores, and the gentleman that was head of Taco Bell came out with the nacho fries and all this really sexy kind of food that everybody likes now. And then they stole him, and he's going to Chipotle now because, you know, Chipotle has never come back from their health scare. And it's going to be interesting to see if this great marketer can do something with Chipotle because it has a very limited menu. I think he should have stayed at Taco Bell, but what the hell do I know? Okay, so I like all of those, all right? Now let's talk about computers, guys, and technology. I like the FANG stocks. They control the world plus Amazon. So you've got Facebook, you've got Apple, you've got Alphabet, you've got Netflix, and you basically have Google there. So they control the world. Now, who else do I like? NVIDIA, which is basically in Palo Alto Networks. I like Roku. I like Intel. I like Cisco. Those are great. The only airlines I like are Alaska and Southwest because they're not highly unionized. I also like Waste Management, Republic Services, if you're into greening the world out there. I own all of those. If you want to dibble in some, buy them. I think all of them on any dips are probably good bets to buy. So that's my stock tips for the day. Okay. Now, let me talk a little bit about Silicon Valley. And what I want people to understand about Silicon Valley is we are not going through an economic cycle. Yeah, it's a cycle, but it's bigger than that. What we are experiencing is what we call an economic revolution. Now, what are revolutions? Revolutions are major events that happen about every 50 years that change the way you think, the way you live, the way you communicate, the way you do business. How can we say that hasn't happened to us over the last 10 years? Of course it has. The first one was the railroads because it connected the country. Then you had people that went from farms into cities. Then you had the assembly line, which gave rise to the middle class. And of course, they brought computers out of the back rooms 50 years ago, but you didn't like them, you hated them. So it isn't 50 years and we're done. It really wasn't until the iPhone. Because you know why? That's when it became affordable, portable, and you and I both know your whole life's on that iPhone, right? You can't live without the iPhone. You can live without a husband, a wife, your children, but you can't live without your iPhone, and I know that. So the iPhone is what, maybe 15 years old? So we're about 15 years in the cycle. So they got the appliances. Now they spend time putting applications on that you'll pay for, that you use. And now it's going to be the time of greatest wealth because now they're out there changing every industry. They're taking healthcare, they're taking every industry, and they're bringing it into the 21st century. And that's exactly what's going to happen. The model that you have here is a typical example of what's happened to real estate and how real estate will change. You know, you have all kinds of models. This model, you have the online models, and you know, basically, here's what I always say to people. When they come to you, how are they going to come? Obviously through Zillow, you know they'll be there, Trillia, Favia, all of them, Real-I, they're all out there. You know what I always say, what you should say to them is, that's great, you have a good general knowledge of real estate, but I'm sure you know that 25% of all real estate listings never get put on MLS for one reason or the other. So you've seen 75% of the world, I'd like to show you the other 25%. Here's the difference between a Zillow. Zillow is not in the real estate business, did you know that? 80% of their revenue comes from stupid real estate agents who advertise on their sites at $800 a month. Now, why are we doing that to the competition? Okay, that's ridiculous. Only 20% come from real estate sales. So you're dealing with a company that doesn't do real estate for a living. Good. What are the chances you're going to get a lot of looky-loos? That's all you're getting. You want to deal with a company that does real estate. That's their job. Here's the key. They have a beautiful front end. Wonderful. Have you interviewed the person at the back end that's going to be writing your contract? Who are they? They're getting 1%. Are they an order processor? Do they even know where California is? Do they know San Francisco and all the idiosyncrasies we have here? Do they know Bernal Heights and Noe Valley and the Castro and the Intermission and the Richmond? Probably not. Where are they sitting? Are they in Fargo, North Dakota? Are they in India? Do they even know what the hell they're doing? Probably not. Have you interviewed them? You ask these millennials, they go, oh no. That's the same thing you did with Bitcoin. You didn't interview anybody either, so you're going to lose money again. Oh, but they're giving me a 1% rebate. Good, keep it, because you're going to need it for the lawsuit, because let me tell you what happens. Number one is this is a business that's all about networking, and you know that because you're all top producers. Now, let's assume that basically I'm here with Alan, okay, and let's say Alan is here, and let's just say I'm with ABC Realty, okay, and Alan gets 4 offers, and one's from Zillow, one's from Trillia, one's from Real-I, and one's from me. Now, who do you think is going to go to the top of the line? My offer. And I'll tell you why. Because he knows me, and he knows 3 things. I'm going to bring a good buyer. We're going to both work together and get this done. And I know what the hell I'm doing, and so does he. Does he want to work with a 1% order processor person that's sitting God only knows where, that knows nothing? No, he doesn't, because he has to do all the work, and they know nothing. Networking, number 1. Number 2, unless you live in an area, you don't know it. You know all the idiosyncrasies of every area that you work, and there are many, and they don't even know. And people that are back there making 1% because they can make a living, they do not understand California. They do not understand our prices. They don't even know how we think or live. They don't get it, okay? They're very slow. I roomed with a girl from Fargo, North Dakota, right? I went home there one Christmas. Oh, my God. You have to fly in a propeller plane. I thought I was going to die over the Ozarks. And then you go there, and you can't do anything. They knit. They do quilts. You can't go out. You can't breathe there. I thought to myself, oh, my God, get me out of here before I die. Second day, I couldn't stand it. I mean, they must have thought I was mentally deranged. It's a mental condition. You do understand that. So at the end of the day, networking and where you live. Also, look at what you've got here. You have all the top producers that you can call, that can help you, that can feed you, that get the right kind of buyers, that know what's happening, that basically understand pricing and what's out here. Do you realize how important that is to somebody? If you're going to buy something and it's the biggest asset you're going to buy or sell, it would be good if you knew what was happening. It would be good if you had somebody who knew what they were doing. And then, look at this, you have a team. I'm sure you have lenders you work with and title people that are here. You have designers, people you know at the permit office. So here's the difference. You don't just list and sell real estate. Look, a computer can do that with a pretty screen. You got these guys back there in technology. They know how to make it work pretty. What you want is somebody who can build wealth for you. That's the key to real estate. Real estate is an asset. There's a difference between housing and real estate. If you just want to live someplace, just go rent something. You can live there. But if you would like to start to build wealth, then you need an asset. It has to be either stock or real estate. And then you start to ladder it and you move up the line. Now, I love this because the other day I'm in a place, and this gentleman who was a client raises his hand, and he says, now I'm going to ask you a question, and I know you're not going to agree with me, but I think I'm right. I said, well, I may agree with you. He said, well, you know, I watch TV, and I see these real estate programs. And he said, they said it's a 5 to 7 year cycle, and we're in a bubble, and this year real estate's going to go down, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, what do you think? I said, you know what? I'm going to agree with you. I didn't agree with him, but I said, I'll agree with you. How much do you think it's going to go down? Oh, 20%. I said, no, I don't think so. I said, maybe we can go into a middle range. How about 10%? Oh, good, he said. 10% is good. I said, okay, now let's take your 5 to 7 year cycle. Let's go back 5 years, and let's look at the price of this home 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was $800,000. Then it was 9. Then it was $1 million. Then it was $1.1 million. Then it was $1.2 million, right? And now it's probably selling for $1.4 million. So now you have lost $800,000. But it's worse than that because you had to live someplace. Did you rent? Yes, I did. How much did you pay? $3,000 a month. There's another $150,000. Now we're at $950,000. And oh, by the way, you didn't get to deduct the interest on your mortgage, and you could have deducted the property taxes because it was last year. You're out $1 million. So guess what? I'll take the $1 million, and if it went down 10%, what do I care, right? At the end of the day. Okay, like, hello, did you miss this picture? So now you're going to wait. Well, I know interest rates are going to go up. Okay, let's talk about that. You go buy $1 million house, and in January, if you did a fixed and you put 20% down, you would pay 4.2%. Today, you're going to pay on that same loan probably 4.6, 4.7. That's about $250 a month. Stop drinking Starbucks and you'll have the difference, okay? Because real estate is still going up. Because it's all about three things. The economy, and Silicon Valley, we just said, is alive and well. All the money coming back. Dropbox now starting to go public. You have 8 other companies that are going to go public this year, and you have companies that are getting money from private investors. Uber won't even go public because they're getting so much private money. Lyft basically getting private money. So you have all this money going into the corridor, and yes, we have the have and have-nots. So if you're a have-not, you can't live in San Francisco. I'm sorry. You have to go to basically Concord or Antioch or move up the corridor because basically Google and Apple and Facebook are going to be building data centers, 9 or 10 of them this year. 2 will be here. The rest will be spread around Colorado, Michigan. So go up the corridor. Where can you go? Well, we start to go up to basically, you can go to Richmond, you can go to Hayward, Antioch, Concord. You can start to go up Tracy, Fresno, Modesto, Stockton, Sacramento, Elks Grove, Roseville. You can start to go on the other side, Petaluma, Santa Rosa, Rohnert Park. You can start to go down to San Jose. You can go to Brentwood. You can go to basically Gilroy, Hollister. That's where you can go. You can go to Watsonville and Salinas. So look, you can't afford a home here. There's a place for the have-nots. The haves, they have more money than God, and you know that. All these young kids get anything that they want. I have a daughter that's worked 10 years in basically technology. I won't tell you what company. She got 3 degrees. We were smart enough to think that she needed to have 3 degrees. The last one she got was from Oxford, and you know, they love that down there. They're all elitists. They love the big name schools. Oh, please. Listen, what do I care at the end of the day? All right. So she had the magnificent degree. She starts there. 3 years later, she marries a patent attorney who went to Duke and MIT. So you can imagine. They've got the golden resume. Okay, fine. So now 10 years later, she gets called by headhunters all the time. So she goes in sometimes to interview. And let me tell you what they say to her. Here, what salary would you like? Oh, what would you like? Not this is what you're getting. A bonus, signing bonus, year-end bonus, stock options. We have a doggy daycare. We have a child care. We have a trainer. We have a fitness center. We have all the cafeterias you want, videos, screens and theaters. If you need something, we'll give it to you. Just tell us what you want. You can get it. That's what they tell them. Her husband, the company he worked for, got out by Intel. So he got a year-end bonus, a signing bonus. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So at the end of the day, I think they make more money than I do. That's the way that it works. Of course, I'm still supporting the grandchildren because that's the way it is. It was written in the Ten Commandments. It doesn't matter whether your children make more than you get the grandchildren. I didn't conceive them. I don't understand why I had to have them, but I certainly have them. And I have to tell you a cute story. My 2 granddaughters called me last night. They sell Girl Scout cookies, right? And they give you prizes for what you sell. So they told me they were a little short. And I said, of course, Nana will help you. They said, oh, good. I said, wait a minute. You're telling me a little short, $650 short. I tried to explain to them that's not a little short. That's the national debt. We're not going to $650. Okay. So we made a compromise. Okay. And they said, but Nana, you don't have to take the cookies. We can send them to the troops. What do I care if you send them to the troops? I still have to write the check at the end of the day. So you're getting the message of what I'm saying. There are have-nots and there are haves, and that's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. And I'm sorry, but either marry rich or get 2 jobs. I don't know what to tell you if you can't afford it, because that's the answer to that question. Now, let's talk about what's happened to real estate here, because you and I both know that we went through this terrible cycle, and it wasn't real estate that went down. It was all the lending that they did that was crazy. Okay. So we come out of that, and if you go back over the last 30 years, we probably appreciated 7 or 8%. Basically, that's on average. Now you went into a market where you had teaser rates, everybody was running multiple offers, up, all about supply and demand and the economy. You can't have a good real estate market unless you have a good economy, and you know how much they're growing at Silicon Valley? 9% GDP, highest in the world. So at the end of the day, you know you've got it, right? So now, where are we? Well, last year you had, in the last couple of years, baby boomers. You had some Russian money, Chinese money, and you had a few millennials. They were in their 20s, but they live in apartments, and they live like communes. You know how they do it. They like the urban centers, and they run around. Okay, fine. So now we fast forward to this year, and it's changed a bit. You still have baby boomers, because they'll still move up and move around. Not as much Chinese or Russian money, but these millennials are coming at you. Now, some of you sitting in this room are millennials, so I'm going to define for you what you are like. Don't take it badly. I don't care whether you take it badly or not. I'm too old for that crap. Okay, fine. I call you the marshmallow people. Now, why do I call you the marshmallow people? Because you have squishy, soft centers, and when you put a marshmallow in the fire, it's got a hard exterior. And that's what you are, the marshmallow people. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I raised 2, so I can say this. They were trained to think they're beautiful, they were perfect, you know everything, you should have everything, you'll inherit the world, you're all entitled to make it a fortune. The baby boomer parents can't believe the way that you live because they think so differently than they do, that they're in a state of shock every day. That's what you are. Then what happens is you grow up, we get past the dogs and the coloring books and nobody liked me and I need a psychiatrist, and all of a sudden you go down to Silicon Valley where you get a job where they eat their young, and somebody sitting next to you says, look, you're not so pretty, you're not so brilliant, you're not so bright, you can't inherit the world, I want your job and you're going to be out. So that's the way it is. So that's the dichotomy. So they're these soft little fluffy people, but then they can be arrogant, they can be obnoxious, they will tell you you're stupid if you don't get them what they want, and at the end of the day, if they're on 6 offers and you don't get them what they want, you are stupid because you haven't told them the way the market has to work. And I'm sorry, but the market works a certain way, and they either can play in the market or they can't. And if they can't, they can go play someplace else. There's a market for them. It may not be the market that they want. So I define the market this way. I don't like it when they say entry, move up, and high end. I think that's very passé. I think what you have to say is trendy, mid-trendy, and non-trendy, because that's what they are. These are the trendy people. You know what they like, smaller houses, smaller yards, and they like to be in the neighborhoods like Burnell Heights and the Castro and the Intermission and the Noe Valley. You know what they like. They want to be able to walk where they have the mommy park and the doggy park and all the little shops and the yoga and the arts and crafts and the bakery. And on Sunday we come down and everybody sits outside with a little doggy bowl with the dog and the baby, and everybody talks and they have 5 hours of brunch. You get the picture, right? That's exactly what they like. And they are willing to spend, and they don't care. If they want it, they don't care. If sellers want to really get their money, they need to redo their house for the millennials and not for them. I have a house that I think is very nice. I have a kitchen that's all marble and hardwood floors, and I know they don't like that. I'm in a house the other day where they walking in, looked just like my kitchen. I said, oh, how nice, you got a great kitchen. Oh, no, we're going to rip this out. And what are you going to put on the counter? Polished concrete. Polished concrete. Good for you. And we don't like these big tiles. We want those little subway tiles. Those are the crap that come off the big tiles. And you know what? And we're not going to have a sink like this. We got to have the one like my grandmother had, which the washboard. That's what they like. You know that. You go in the bathroom, nothing can have plumbing. Everything has to float. You do understand that. And the shower has to have rainwater. God forbid it should have water. Look, we're in a drought area here. You're lucky you get water. Oh no, we got to have rainwater with a fragrance. So you get the picture, okay? You're getting the picture of what they want. And when they want it, they will buy it. And they don't care. And they will spend, and so I'm going to give you some statistics. Trendy areas, you know where they are. You have 1 month of inventory. Are you listening to me? 1 month of inventory. And it's not going to get any better because nationally, new home developments will be 8%. Here in California, 1%. They're building a lot of condos and townhomes, but these people now are in their 30s and they all want single-family homes. That's what they really want. They'll settle for a townhouse and a condo, but it's not really what they want. You have 1 month of inventory. 50% all cash. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So you have somebody who needs an FHA or needs a loan. Maybe you don't want to put them in this market. It's probably not going to be the best place for them. They basically will be 70% millennials now. They sell in 3 to 17 days, probably less, but you keep it on the market longer to make sure it's exposed. And it's going to go between probably 5 to at least 20% over list price. I live in San Mateo on the wrong side of El Camino because I don't like snobby people. So I don't mind living on the wrong side. But there is a street there called Palm Avenue, right? You know where it is, Alan. And there's a little tiny house that went up for sale, but they were smart. They did it for millennials, okay. And it went up for $1.1 million, 1,000 square feet. And I have a friend in the real estate business. He's been in the business for 30 years. He's the treasurer of your association. He's very successful, but he does commercial stuff. So he has a daughter who came up from LA, and he bid on the house. And he bid $1.4 million. They had 200 people through the open house, 36 offers that they put down to 12, and he calls me up and he says, am I going to get it? I said, no. Oh, Carole, he said, don't tell me that. I already gave her $300,000 to get in this house. He said, she's got to get into a house. I said, well, I don't think so. He said, okay, what do you think it's going to go for? Close to 2. 1,000 square feet on the wrong side of El Camino. He said, are you kidding? No. I said, I'm telling you the truth. Went for $1,950,000. 10-day close, all cash, no contingencies. Absolutely amazing. And that's how it is. And they don't care. Why? Because they're getting bonus. Their stocks are going up. They're getting more options. If they can't afford it and a company wants to keep them, they'll give them a loan. I have had my daughter say to me, because she manages a lot of people, they come in and a guy that they really need will say, look, I got to leave here. I'm sorry, because my wife can't live where she wants. She wants the kids in this school district with her friends because you know they move in packs. You do understand that they're like sheep. They move in packs. And so we got to leave. No, we'll give you a loan. Now they got the golden handcuffs and they can't leave to go to another company. It's perfect. They don't mind. They'll be happy to give you a loan. What do they care? And yes, they do move in packs. So all of you, when you're marketing to them, think about clubs. They like car clubs, fitness clubs, mommy clubs, daddy clubs, exotic car clubs, bridge clubs, movie clubs, food clubs. You know they love that. You know that. It always amazes me that these people, and I look at Blue Apron and all of that, my God, if you were going to order food in, why wouldn't you want it prepared so you could sit down and just eat it? Oh, no. We have to have an experience. You understand that. We have to open the box and chop the carrots, and we have to chop the tomato. And I said to a young one, he said, well, you don't understand. These are special tomatoes. They are? What kind of tomatoes are special? Well, these come from Chile. You wouldn't know a Chile tomato from a basically Hollister tomato, but fine, if that's what you want, may God be with you. So you know the way they are. They want what they want, and they don't care what they pay for it. If they want it, they will buy it. That's the trendy area. Mid-trendy, you have some of those in San Francisco. They're where they'll go because they can't get into trendy because they can't afford it. You have 2 months supply there, only 24% cash. Still 70% millennials, takes about 25 days to sell, and at the end of the day, it's going to go maybe 3 to 10% over list. Do you have some non-trendy areas? Yes, you do. They don't like some parts of Pacific Heights anymore because they can afford it, but they don't want to spend it. They don't like south of Market too much anymore because it's all condos and townhouses, and that's not what they want. So in those areas, everything's going to get overpriced. It's going to stay on the market. It's going to have to be reduced, and it's not going to sell. So here's my theory of what I think. Trendy areas are going to go up at least high single digit this year. Mid-trendy, middle single digit. High-end going down 5 to 10%. We see it every place, from Atherton to Hillsborough to basically Black Hawk to Ruby Hill. They don't like big isolated houses that are gated or dark. They want to be near those little neighborhoods where they all can run up there. And it's a very interesting thing, and I tell this story about how I hurt my hip. I have a little grandson who lives here on Green. They live on, basically on the same place I live, Carole, Laurel, up here in Pacific Heights. And I had him one day, and we went to a soccer game, and it was before the soccer game, and he said, Nana, can you play soccer with me? I want to practice. So great. He's running down the field. I'm laying on the field. That's the difference between us. But I see all these people come in, right? These are the parents of these children. And the women all look the same. The jeans, the big slouchy purses, big sunglasses, streaked blonde hair in the ponytail with the caps. The men all look the same, kind of nerdy. Okay, that's the way I would describe them. Okay, fine. So I'm watching them, and of course none of them are watching their children. They're all talking or they're on their phones. You know that. They can't live without being on their phones. So I begin to get the idea that they move in packs because these people all look the same. So I went up to my son. He's one of them in the pack. And I said to him, you could take home the wrong wife and you wouldn't even know you had the wrong wife for at least 5 weeks. How do you tell the difference between one of these from the other? I said, this is an impossibility. I mean, are you kidding? And that's exactly how they are. They do move in packs together and they look, but the packs are different. So you have to know which pack you're working with. Some of them like this pack, some of them want this, some of them want that. So that's what I think. Now let me talk about rentals. I think rentals probably have stabilized. They'll go down a little bit, but what's the difference? They're up 30%. Do I like commercial? Of course I do, but what do I like? I like warehouses, storage facility, apartment houses, mobile home parks, because I think a lot of seniors are going to take their loot and go move to very nice mobile homes with structured homes. They will do that. And they will do that in places away from here, but not too far away, but a way that they can come back and forth. That's what I sort of like in commercial. I do not like office space unless it's like this where it's very trendy. We have it all up down 101, the 80s office look. They don't like that. They like we work, we play, you know the model and you understand. They're bites and bullets people. Just think of them this way. You're adult bodies with Montessori minds. Nursery school, that's it, bites, bullets, everything you have to constantly be gratified, everything has to be an experience. That's the way they are. They like adjustables, they don't like 30-year loans, God forbid. You tell them, but interest rates are low, they're going to go up again. Oh, they don't care, we're not going to be here that long. They want to get in today, they'll pay $400,000 over. They don't care. That's the way it is. And you know what? They shouldn't have to worry because technology will keep them well-funded. Their parents will die and leave them the greatest pocket of wealth that has ever been given from one generation to the other. And the grandparents are taking care of the grandchildren. So they were born on the right side of the bed at the right time. I wasn't, because I'm too old. I'm supporting the world. That's the problem. The young people here, they will get the benefit of it. Are there some that aren't going to get the benefit? Of course. That's the way the world works. Some of us are taller, brighter, prettier. There's nothing that says the Bill of Rights, it all has to be equal. You can't do that and have a capitalistic system, and you can't do that and have a society and an economy like we have. Now, when is the downturn coming? I don't know, but maybe 2020 there'll be a little bleep because that's a presidential year and it's going to be a dirty race and you know that and we don't know. Mr. Trump will probably run again whether you like him or not good. There'll be somebody on the other side. Who knows if they're pro-business, maybe they won't be as pro-business. You vote for who you like. That's the first bleep on the screen that I can see out there. It's not going to be deep here, but it'll be maybe a bleep on the screen. At the end of the day, you have all of that time to live in the world, which is absolutely wonderful. You're living in the best state, in the best place, with a fantastic economy, with a real estate market that I understand your frustration. There are no listings. I wish I could make magic and give you more, but I can't. You need to get out there and go get them. Okay? You need to touch base, walk the neighborhoods, call your past clients, belong to clubs, get into associations, talk to people. That's what you need to do. Ask for the business. That's the key. You're at a gas station line. I love this. People, there's somebody right next to you. I bet you never talk to them. What you should say is, gee, gas tax just went up 5 cents, and you know, I'm in a business where I drive a lot. Are you in a business where you drive a lot? Maybe they'll talk to you, right? Maybe you can go in your neighborhood. He has a little girl, perfect, bring her around. God, she'll sell houses. Knock on the door. Hi, you know I'm your neighbor, but I've never walked my neighborhood. I don't even know who my neighbors are. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we had a block party and let's all get together and let's do something. Let's do something for the 4th of July or whatever, Easter, whatever it is. You got to get out there. You got to ask for the business. You're in the grocery line. You're not going to say to somebody you want to list your house, but maybe they have something you could say, oh, gee, you know, I've never tried that product. Do you like it? Do your children like it? Oh, God, maybe I will try it. Thank you. That's it. You got to ask for the business in a subtle way. Then you can get around. You should be wearing your badges. That's how they know. At the end of the day, okay, guys, that's everything that I know. I think you're in a good place at a good time. My God, what a great company. If I was in the business of selling again, I'd come back here. But you probably wouldn't like me because I'm too outspoken. You'd get a lot of complaints.
Oh, you're in perfect company.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Now, look, I want to get back to the person that's going to use the 1% rebate, okay? They need to understand a couple of things. One is, if they're not filling out the disclosures, they probably will have to, because I don't think the person back there is going to do that. Do you realize the liability in filling out the disclosures? They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what they're doing in a contract either, especially the 1% person. Oh, and by the way, are you going to hold your own open house, sir, Mr. Seller? Oh, yeah, because they're not coming to do that. Well, I hope you realize you can't talk real estate because you need a real estate license in order to talk about real estate. Look up the DRE rules. So it's good and very important that you keep that 1%. Because one, you haven't seen the whole world, so you're going to miss something that you wish you had. You have nobody representing you who knows anything about the area you're looking in, and you have extreme liability. Good choice. Save the 1%. It's really going to be needed. Because when you go and you have to get sued, when I was at Alain Pinel, I loved it when I had First American Title or a big company in front of us, because I would call them and say, they're coming to serve you. Bring your checkbook first, because I'm going to be a second one. And then the agent can be third. That's what you want. You want somebody in front of you. You don't want to be the only person sitting there. Zillow doesn't even have a real estate license. Redfin does. Zillow's not sending anybody. They're going to send you a letter that says, look, didn't you read the disclaimer on page 46 that said all of the information we have was supplied by the seller, therefore we cannot verify its accuracy? See, that means we're not responsible. Have a nice time with your checkbook when you go down. That's exactly what's happening. So, go out there, build wealth. Don't just list and sell real estate. Now I'll answer any questions. You must have some, of course. Yes, sir.
Carole, sorry, Stephen, to get ahead. Would you be so kind as to just speak a little bit about the Sacramento markets, El Dorado County, Placer County? We have
okay, absolutely.
Well.
Okay.
And also from the South Bay, Campbell, Sunnyvale.
Okay, all right, let me go down the South Bay first of all. We start in Burlingame, which is very hot and trendy, okay? I think Millbrae is what I would call a mid-tier, moderate, because it's hilly and basically it's harder to get down. I put Daly City in that same category. It's cold there, it's foggy. There's really not a neighborhood feel, there's only retail. But then you get to San Mateo, parts are pretty popular, but then you start down the corridor. You got Redwood City, Foster City, you got Redwood Shores, you've got basically San Carlos, you've got all Campbell, Mountain View, Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, on fire, 1.5 million, Palo Alto. And then you're going down and you're going to get to the San Jose areas and you're going to get to Santana Row. And they're redoing all the neighborhoods in San Jose and they're going to be hot, hot, hot. Then you go down the corridor and you've even got basically now Gilroy, Morgan Hill, Hollister for land because of marijuana, extremely hot. And then you keep on just going down and they're all very, very hot there. That's going to be your peninsula. The city we talked about. Now let's go up the other way. You know, Sacramento has always been an up and down market as far as I'm concerned. It either high up or down in the dregs. I think it's beginning to get some legs now. So Sacramento, Roseville, Granite Bay, you got all of those. Those are all coming along. And then as you go up, you've got Tracy, Fresno, Modesto, Stockton. Those are all going to be redone, all going to be great areas for people. That's where the warehouses, the data centers are going to be. That's where the affordable housing is going to be because they've got to go out. They can't do it here because there's no land and it's too expensive. So I think if you're working those areas, I call those B locations that are going to become A locations. What you want to do with people that can't afford an A location, which are the premium, take them to a B location. I think Hayward and Richmond are going to be hot. Antioch, Concord, very hot. Take them there and say to them, you buy here, you wait 4 or 5 years if you're an investor. If you can get in, you get in. And you know what? They're going to appreciate more than San Francisco will over the next 5 years because we've done so much appreciation. There's where the appreciation is going to be. There's where it's going to be, up there. And it's going to be there for a lot of reasons. One is that's where the warehouse and the storage facilities are going, and they need those. Okay. The second reason is it's too expensive here and there's no land. And the third reason is you have all these people now with marijuana, so land has become very expensive. But now remember, federal law supersedes state law. They can't get a loan from a federal bank, they can't fill out a federal income tax return, and they can't get title. So be careful. These private investors need to know you're not getting title to the land you're buying. You can buy it, you can pay for it, but you're not going to get title to it because it's against federal law. But they're buying it, and you know what I'll tell you is hot? Pescadero, Boulder Creek. Not the houses. The houses don't sell. The land sells. You don't sell your house. You put your land up for sale because of marijuana. So I think you go to the B locations. Anything in California that's a B location. I don't know a lot about Southern California, and I don't like it. Southern California, to me, I just don't get Southern California. I lived there. I lived in Bel Air, California for 9 years. I didn't like it. It was smoggy. I don't understand LA. It's too spread out. It's too many pockets. You got too many people there, too many little areas. Oh, God. It's just not what I would consider high quality. I don't mean to be unkind. If anybody's from LA, I apologize. Not really, but sort of. But San Francisco, Northern California is a totally different kind of area. There's quality here. I call Southern California quantity, not quality. I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult you, but I don't care. Okay, so at the end of the day, does that help?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Somebody else had their hand up. Yes, sir. Am I single? I'm a widow. I'll tell you how I got in this business. It's an amazing story. I was a widow at 42, okay, and I had never worked. I mean, I come from an Italian family, Betty Crocker model. You know, somebody marries you and you stay home, you take care of the kids and you cook. That's what you do. At 42, I found myself a widow with children in private schools, 2 homes to support, and my kids looking at me saying, who's going to take care of us? And I'm thinking the same thing. Who's going to take care of us? So I figured out I got to do something, right? So I started out, you know how you start out, and I worked my way up, was president of 3 companies, and I figured, look, if somebody like some of these stupid people could do it, I could do it. I can become who I need to become, and I've worked all my life now, so I live in a condominium where they put you to bed at 9 o'clock at night, you know, and I can't stand it. I got to get out in the day because, oh my God, they go to lunch, they knit, you know, they have a bridge club. Can you see me doing that? No, I don't think so. So we just keep working. As long as I have my mind, I guess I'll be okay. When I get wacko, my kids will put me away someplace probably. Maybe not, because I told the guy that's my attorney I'm not going someplace they determine. We'll go where I determine at the end of the day. So I've been... Oh, thank you. Well, no, I've been a widow since I've been 42, which is a long time. A long, long time. Yes, sir.
Would you buy Realogy stock?
Probably not. I like to buy stocks that are 1 or 2 in their field, that have been around a long time, because those are the ones that stay very popular, and those are the ones you put away. Every year I take about $5,000 or $10,000 and I call it my play money, because my broker that I've worked with for years will say, Carol, you can't buy that. Yes, I can do what I want. Well, I buy all the trieds and truths, the Boeings of the world, the ones that I told you about. And then I take $5,000 or $10,000 and then I go throw it on the dice and see what happens. So if you want to put a little bit into a risky company, fine, do it. You may hit the jackpot.
But I guess what I was asking, what do you think is going to happen to traditional brokerages?
Traditional?
Brokerages, real estate brokerages.
They will survive to some degree. They have to change their model. They're going to have, you know, look, at one time it was basically they got a lot of the money and the agents didn't. Then the way they competed was somebody said to somebody, oh, they're giving you 50, I'll give you 60. Well, if 60 is good enough, I'll give you 70. If 70 is good enough, I'll give you 80. I think the model is you have to understand you're going to have a company that you're going to work with. And I think you need to understand you're self-employed, because that's what you are. You're going to build your own businesses, and you're going to choose a company that's going to give you the materials that you need to do your business. You don't want to be in the marketing business, really. You want somebody to do that for you.
Well, we are paying her to say that.
Well, look, your time has to be spent listing and selling, correct? You don't need to be doing processing in the back room. You can have a buyer's agent to do that. You can have somebody who does processing. Look, I have a company too, and I have people who do my scheduling, and I have people that do my driving. For me to drive my car is a waste of time. When I get in the car, Colin, are you here? Colin is the guy that does the driving, and isn't he cute? He's young. I like young people. I don't want to be surrounded by old people like me. Okay, fine. So Colin drives. I get on the phone. I'm working. Do you understand what I'm saying? I can spend my time much more valuably than I can if I'm trying to drive and park, okay? So what I say to you is, yeah, some of them will survive. The biggies will probably survive, but they're going the way of the wind because they don't get it. And they don't get it that you need people to do certain things for you. So find out what's top 10. What are the most valuable things for you? That's what you need to be doing. They in the back room here need to be doing all the other stuff for you. I think that's the model. Yes?
And because we're in transition and the old model is obviously breaking.
Yes.
What are the top 3 things that you're seeing in the disruptor realm of brokerages that is innovative and you think is going to stay, is really what's giving agents
Obviously,
competitive?
technology obviously has to be number one, and the agent's use of technology. Because a lot of these companies have programs, but none of the agents use them. They don't. Half of them don't. I'm in an office the other day where they absolutely, listen to this, they belong to a program where they gave them their marketing. They would do a drip system for them free. All they had to do was give them their database. So I asked how many in a room of 80 used them. 3 hands went up. Are you kidding? That's ridiculous, is it not? Okay, fine. Technology, your marketing, processing. That's it. You got to go out and sell. You got to go out and list. They can't do that for you. You got to do it. You've got to convince me that you're better than anybody else I've interviewed. What makes you stand out? I want to know how much you did last year. What kind of homes did you sell? What kind of a profile of a buyer can you bring to me? That's where you add value. I don't need to ask you about processing. I need to know that you have good people that are going to process and keep me out of litigation. That's what I need to know. I need to know that you're going to do certain marketing. Let me see your stuff. I don't need you to be doing it every day. Let somebody else do it. Technology, marketing, processing. That's all back end.
It's like you're speaking to our mission, which is obviously was not by design, but.
Well, that's good. That's the way it should be. And it should be seamless for you. You should get a listing. There should be a process here. You should put it in. It should get done. Boom, 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 boom. You're done. Now you go out. You can sell. You do the open house. You do the things that basically bring you value and bring you money. I'm out every day speaking. I could spend 3/4 of my time scheduling, meeting, having gossip, doing lunch. We don't do lunch. We stopped at McDonald's today on the way up here because I was in Santa Cruz this morning, okay? You don't like McDonald's, you can't drive with me. I'm sorry. That's the way it works. Taco Bell is good too. I like Taco Bell. Look, I look at it this way. At my age, does it matter if I eat junk food? What the hell difference does it make? I mean, am I going to grow up and be better with my bones at my age? I don't think so, okay? And I never liked celery anyway, okay? So at the end of the day, I do what I want. But that's the key. Do what's valuable.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me? Yes. Oh, of course.
What should we be by Really?
How what?
The company Really. I first learned about them when they were standing in front of the open house.
Oh, Real Eye?
Realize, I said.
Yeah, they do processing in the back end, and you pay them like 10%. They come to people's open houses. I'm telling you, they're in trouble because they will try to come into your open house. I think here's the difference. I understand the model here is you're mostly top producers, and you have teams that you work with. Real Eye wants the middle tier agent, okay? Because they can get more money out of the middle tier agent. They're not interested in the top producers because they feel they would have to cater to you a little bit too much. Their market is middle, and basically entry and middle level. It's not.
Do you think that their model, their value proposition to sellers is going to stick? It's like, hey, we're going to change the lock on your front door so that anybody can open it. And we have security cameras, and as they walk to the house, these little things are going to.
Great. Let me tell you my answer. Let me tell you my answer to that. Once we bought a safe, okay, at Sears, all right, and they delivered it. 1 week later, we had a robbery in our house. Does that tell you something? So they're going to put a lock on your door and cameras. Good. I'll hire somebody to put a lock on my door and cameras. I don't need you to do that because I don't even know who you're sending to my house, and they may basically get the lock and come into my house and steal everything I have. Yeah, their model will work for certain people. Of course it will. There's enough room for everybody. They'll have a gimmick, then this one will have a gimmick. Look, at the end of the day, if you can't go out and grab business from people by your professionalism, by your volume, by your experience, by your negotiating skills, then this isn't the right business for you. I guarantee you there's a lot of speakers that speak every day. I guarantee you I'll go up against any speaker, and I'm sure there's some that are much better than I am, but it wouldn't bother me one bit because I'm very confident about what I know, the research that I do, how I speak, and what I can say. I'm very confident, and I'll bet you in a room I couldn't convince some people that they might want to hire me or even let me come 4 times a year. I did 400 of these last year, if you can believe that. Yes?
No, I was say I'd hire you.
Oh, thank you. Any more questions for me? Well, yes.
If there's one thing that you would pass on to us for the year of 2018, what would that be?
Okay, I would say this. It's all in your mind. You have so much coming at you and so many changes. I can't. Yes, you can. And I'll tell you what my dad told me when I was going to go get an MBA. I went and I said to him, I'm going to get an MBA. What do you think? And oh my God. And he said, Carole, I'm going to give you 3 lines, and this is the MBA. Get up, shut up, don't whine, and go make a buck. Now you've got an MBA. Are you listening to me? Get up, shut up, and quit whining. The world is the way it is. There is no inventory. Millennials are hard to work with. Gee, you don't feel good today. Gee, your body aches. Do I care? No, I don't. Get up, and every day go do it. That's it. And every day believe you can. If you don't believe you can, nobody else will. Okay, I told you I was a widow at 42. I'd never worked a day in my life. All of a sudden I said, well, I can do this. I didn't know what I could do, but I said, I can do something, right? Well, 40 years later, here's where we are. So I would say you need to believe in yourself. And success comes when you bring it to yourself. It takes hard work. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.